Hey, Henry here, and this time on Page Files I have another recently received magazine to check out. This time it's Nintendo Force number 78 for July and August of 2025. Nintendo Force is a bi-monthly gaming magazine from creator Lucas M. Thomas that aims to fill the void left by the demise of Nintendo Power. And on the cover, we have this artwork of Donkey Kong Bonanza, along with a list of several other games that are covered within. And then, as you can see, we have the table of contents here. And this magazine is actually quite a bit longer than those I've covered previously. So rather than going page by page and discussing each article, I'm going to be flipping primarily to those that I find the most interesting. First of which is on the very next page, which is the inbox. I've always enjoyed reading the letters from subscribers in magazines like Nintendo Power, and I appreciate that Nintendo Force has maintained a similar section. Unsurprisingly, the focus of most of these letters seems to be the Switch 2 and its games. And moving on, we have a continuation of that, and then we have the Players Poll. I also really appreciate any opportunity a magazine like this gives for reader engagement, and the Players Poll is a great example of that. Now, I thought about going through and answering each of these questions myself as part of this, but I felt like that would be too time consuming. I may end up doing it as a separate short video. We'll see. But for now, we'll be moving on to the very next page, in fact. So, this is Nintendo San Francisco opens its doors. I was not only unaware that a new store was opening in San Francisco, I didn't even realize that there was an existing Nintendo retail store in New York City. So this was an interesting article for me, and one that I appreciate learning about via the magazine. Next, I'm flipping way over into here, where we have an article titled "I'm Going to Wreck It: Reflections on Destruction in Nintendo Video Games." And this was an interesting article for me because it spans 40 years, in fact, from Block Fever and Dig Dug to Rampage and Blast Corps, all the way up to some modern classic destruction-based video games like Katamari Damacy and Donut County, both of which are excellent games and games that I've played and very much enjoyed myself. So I thought that was an enjoyable read for me. And obviously there were a couple of other games mentioned as well that maybe you're familiar with or enjoy. The first preview is the title game, Donkey Kong Bonanza. And this is a 4-page spread that gives some thoughts on the game and draws some parallels between it and the Disney animated film Wreck-It Ralph, which also actually appeared in a game for Nintendo consoles and handhelds, specifically the Wii, DS, and 3DS. So there are some actual comparisons that could be drawn, I'm sure, if one had played those games or wanted to go back and do so. The first game that is featured that I'm really interested in is here, which is No Sleep for Konami Date. And this is one that I am eager to check out. I'm a big fan of the and the Somnium Files series, and so I've been excited about this ever since I heard about it. I will be waiting probably for the price to come down a bit, but I very much want to read this article and see if it offers any insight that might make me want to pick the game up sooner than expected. Next, we have Super Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. So, I'm not a fan of either of these series, but it just really didn't feel right to totally skip over these articles since they're first-party games. So I wanted to just stop on them and make it clear that these games are covered, even though I don't plan to go in any real detail about them. Next up, we have Forgotten Franchises, Wrecking Crew, with the question being asked, will recent references be enough to resurrect this long-sleeping series? And to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be bothered if this one continues to slumber. I've never been a fan of Wrecking Crew, So really not interested in seeing any new installments in that series myself. Although, of course, if others are, I would be happy to see their wish granted, even though I would most likely never play the game. Then we're moving on to this retro section titled Warp Zone. And this is an article about what Nintendo Power was writing about way back when, and that being specifically the July and August 2000 issues. So the July issue featured Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards on the cover, and August featured Mario Tennis. And just a quick kind of skim of the article reveals that the August issue also included Ogre Battle 64 and Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, both of those games being ones I would have been very interested in. Now, maybe honestly not at the time, but looking back, I'm certainly interested in them now. The next game that I'm certainly interested in is Life is a Highway, Mario Kart World. And I thought this was an interesting review because it doesn't stop with just the opinion of one staffer, but if I can get the page to turn, also includes a couple of mini reviews and scores from a couple of others as well. And their opinion seems to be pretty consistent with a score, in the 8 and 8.5 range. So I think it's nice to see an opinion from more than one person for games like that. Next, I'm going to look at the popular puzzle pairing persists. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. So this game, based on this article at least, seems to be fairly lackluster. It's basically just a Switch 2 version of the Puyo Puyo Tetris that was released 5 years ago. So it doesn't seem like they really did anything to it to justify buying an upgraded version. Although if you don't already have it, I'm sure that's a different story altogether. Next, we have a visual boost that takes your breath away and a visual boost that makes you shed a tear. Now, these articles obviously are coverage of the Switch 2 versions of the incredibly popular Legend of Zelda titles for the Switch. I'm sure many people will be interested in those. I haven't played either game myself, so can't really offer much in the way of an opinion on the quality of the article, although based on my experience with other articles in the magazine, I expect it to be good quality. Next, we have a Switch review, and this isn't so much a Switch review as it is kind of it puts more coverage towards things like the various modes that are available for play, as well as some Joy-Con updates. So I think that may take a slightly different look than what a lot of the typical reviews cover, and I suspect I would have to look back, but that they have probably covered the Switch 2 hardware itself in the previous issue is my assumption. And while we're on the Switch 2 hardware, this one titled The New Ultimate Gamepad, the Nintendo Switch 2 controller, Switch 2 Pro controller, And honestly, as someone who didn't think the Switch 2 Pro controller would offer any noticeable differences over the original, I need to read through this because maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's something there that I just didn't see based on the small amount of info that was available in the trailer or the different things that I've seen on the system. So I will go back and check that out. The next thing of real interest to me is this archive. And this is a list of all Nintendo Force review scores for Switch games over the past 2 years. And I think this is incredibly useful. Now, my eyes were immediately drawn to the score for Stray, which was given a 7.5. I very strongly disagree with that score, but nevertheless, I think that it's great that they kind of give a combined list that's an easy to reference, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Instead of having to go searching through archives or digging out old issues, if you have them, if you want to know how they scored a given game, 2 years ago. So as we're getting close to the end, I'm going to stop on the next issue page. I really like the fact that they offer this and give a really good listing of some of what will be included. I'm already very eager to read their coverage on the upcoming Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles. I'm a big fan of tactics RPGs. I've yet to play that one, even though I know it is an absolute classic and a must play for fans. So I will probably be starting my first playthrough on the re-release version. So I'm glad to see some coverage of that in the upcoming issue. Moving on to the back cover, we have more Donkey Kong Bonanza, along with the magazine's web address and social media addresses and things like that. So if you're interested in it, those are ways that you can get more information on the magazine. And with that, that's a wrap on my look at Nintendo Force Magazine number 78. I skipped over a lot of great content, some of which was coverage of games that I'm sure many of you will be more interested in than some of those I showcased. But that's just more reason to pick up your own copy. And if you enjoyed this episode of Page Files, I would love to hear your comments and feedback. If you want more of content from me, you can always follow me on social media. I'm at Late to Gaming on all platforms. Like and follow here if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you later.